I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call. John Anderson, I'm here. Brendan Havner Doughton. Presently absent. Lorraine Hughes,
Present.
Anton Younger. Present. Jason Lindsay.
Here.
Yama. And Tamika Villot.
Sorry, we needed on Yama. You need to announce if they're here or absent.
They're absent.
Thank you.
I'm
sorry, I couldn't hear that. When we do roll call, after each person's name, the chair will announce whether they're absent or present.
And Tamika Villot.
Like
Absent.
we have
We have somebody coming right now.
Evening.
Evening.
Have a seat. I thought I knew what I was going. Misha? Misha, yeah. Yeah, okay.
All right, Tanisha. Okay, agenda, I have one change in the agenda, and that is to move the consent agenda behind item C, which would be action items. Because part of the action item is we have to approve restarting. And we'll be in full compliance and action mode.
Is that entertainment of the motion?
No,
You can say if there are no objections.
Yeah.
We're going to move item B to after item C.
there are no objections. We're gonna move item B to after item C. Yes, sir.
We normally have mics. Are they picking up with the mask?
This picks up, as long as you're speaking, it'll pick up the sound.
Where's, oh, that's the mic down there?
No, it's on the table
It's
here.
It's
Anton.
Oh, here?
the owl, it's
circular.
called an owl.
It's that cone shaped thing.
If I might say, those of us in the public are having a difficult time hearing applicants.
So we've moved it closer, so, I mean, if you speak
A little louder.
a little louder, I would say, but it should pick us up.
Mr. Chair, I understand that the public is allowed to speak on each item on the agenda. I don't see that noted on the agenda, so I'd like the public to be aware of that, and hopefully that could be on the agenda in the future.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
So we want to be careful about putting a timed portion on the agenda for members of the public for public comment. We want to allow public comment, so we would just do that. Unfortunately, with the new Brown Act rules, if we say we are going to have public comment on each item for say 10 minutes, we have to leave that time open the entire 10 minutes. So that's why we would not put a time portion on the agenda, but we will absolutely allow public comment on each item. It's just not timed.
The other way to do that is on the agenda. To put under after each item, particularly on the action items. To put a point for public discussion.
That's something that the chair would handle. It does not need to be on
Doesn't need to
the,
be
no,
on.
doesn't need to be on the agenda. It's an automatic, it's required by law.
I was asking a question of the chair. Now, is it the parliamentarian going to answer the chair's question? Is that how this works?
I'm sorry, I raised my hand and I looked to the chair, so.
Well, we have, for those of you who haven't. Tamika, or Tammy, I should say.
Tammy.
Tammy is the district has. Given us Tammy, services for a year to help us in running the meetings.
Yeah.
So.
Do we need help?
Yes, definitely.
We have needed help, I think, in my view.
All right, well, I'd like to respond to the assertion. The Brown Act specifically legally requires that the public can comment on every item on the agenda. And my suggestions, Mr. Chair, is that be noted on the agendas in the future. And if you'd like the citation, I can give it to you.
So noted. Okay, so back to the agenda, and if there's no objections, we're moving from the item B to item C. Well, we have two new members. And I'd like you to introduce yourselves. Yes, ma'am.
We only did the approval, with no objections for moving B to C. We now have to do with no objections. The
Okay,
agenda will
with
be-
that, with the movement from the consent item from item behind item C, are there any other comments or objections to the agenda? None noted. The agenda is approved with the one adjustment. So now I'd like to welcome the new members. Please
Misha.
introduce yourself and give us a little bit of what your interest is in the CBOC.
Okay, how you doing? My name is Tanisha, recently joined. And my interest is, anywhere within the school district to help it better. My daughter is a junior F&O, and, I was on a couple of board meetings listening in. And because, she's never went to school really out here, she's always been in private school. I was unaware of a lot of things that was going on, so I wanted to roll up my sleeve and get in somewhere and try to be useful and you know, instead of being somebody complaining about things, then you have to kind of get into action and find your home somewhere and try to improve or help someone.
Yeah, thank you. Anton?
I'm Anton Young here. My interest in coming back on the committee is, I think, as a citizen of this community, I have a responsibility to make it better than it was when I came here. And that's from the Athean oath for the citizenship for Athenians, where they had an oath, where it was incumbent on a citizen to make their community better than what it was when they arrived. So that's my interest.
Yeah, thank you. I think the existing members, we should probably introduce quickly for Tanisha. I'm John Anderson. I've been on the CBOC for almost 3 years now. I'm on the CBOC because I'm a taxpayer in the district. My kids are grown out of the area. So, and it's a substantial, these bond issues are a substantial part of my tax bill each year. And this is a good mechanism, particularly on these bonds specifically approved for construction. A good mechanism to provide some oversight. Lorraine?
Yes, I'm on the committee because several years ago, there was a bond issue on the ballot and it went down, and I started just attending the CBOC meetings to see what they were like. And I also am a member of COTO Tax, and one of the other people on COTO Tax was the tax representative here. So when her term was up, they needed someone, so I said, well, what the heck, just like you, I'll give it a try, you know, and that's what I did.
Hello.
Jason?
So I'm Jason Lindsay, and I'm with the Ironworkers Local 378 and here as a representative of the Contra Costa Building and Construction Trades Council. And all of these, this bond measure is part of the West County Unified School District's project labor agreement for all these construction projects. So that's why we have a representative from the building trades on the board. That's why I'm here.
And then we've just had one of our new members. Brendan, you joined us at the right time. We were just making introductions.
Thank you. All right, I think I'm, I'll sit right here.
Oh,
Or no?
yeah, I need to be, I'll move down one.
Go here.
Apologies for being late, everybody. Is it my turn to introduce
Yeah.
myself? My name is Brendan Havener-Doughton. I'm a parent of a first grader and an incoming kindergartner at Valley View Elementary. I serve on the parent and teacher organization there, and I was born and raised in Oakland. Worked for the Oakland Unified School District for a bit. Served on the CBOC in Oakland for a little bit. So I have some experience there. Just, happy to be engaged and support the district and our, parents and taxpayers in the pursuit of, spending money wisely and supporting our students.
And my understanding is you also served on the CBOC for Oakland.
Yes.
School District.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you. With that, I'll just have some remarks about what we're going to be doing tonight, the way the agenda is set up. We have, back in September, the CBOC had a resolution that suspended operations because we only had at the time 4 members. 4 or 5 members. So we were under the minimum requirement of 7. And part of that resolution is we would restart operations after the board also approved a new board policy that was consistent and the membership got back up. So the first item that we'll have on the agenda under the action items is a resolution that basically rescinds that and puts us back into operation full mode. And because the board did approve a new policy that governs the CBOC, and we are at 7 members. We're absent only 1 of our members tonight. And then there's some other items. The other items with the election of officers, we normally elect officers in December, and we weren't able to do that this year. And then also we didn't really adopt a formal calendar, so that's why we have those under the action items. Now, are there any public comments for items not on the agenda? I don't see any.
There's no hands on
No
Zoom.
hands on the Zoom. So with that, we'll go into the first item, which is approving. It's in packet under item C.1, which is the resolution 2301. And I'll read it.
Can you give us the page for the people that
It would be on page 29. So the resolution, title, West Contra Costa County Unified School District Citizens Bond Oversight Committee, Resolution 23-01, March 27th, 2023. Resume active operations of CBOC. Whereas on January 18th, 2023, the West Contra Costa Unified School District Board of Education approved a revised policy that provides for independent CBOC capable of providing strict oversight of WCCUSD and is compliant with the accountability requirements of Proposition 39 of 2000. And whereas the CBOC approved Resolution 2204 on September 12th to suspend operations of the committee until the Board of Education approved such policy. And whereas the current membership does include the minimum of 7 members required by the code, and the district is presently actively recruiting for the recent vacated business organization representative position. Now, therefore, be it resolved, effective immediately, WCCUSD CBOC shall temporarily temporarily resume operations until December 31st in order for the district to bring the CBOC into compliance with regard to the minimum number of members. After pursuing this resolution, the CBOC shall elect a chairperson, vice chairperson, and secretary to serve until December 31st, 2023, at which time officers will be selected by the compliant CBOC membership. After passing the resolution, the CBOC shall also approve a schedule of meetings to be posted on the WCCUSD calendar. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
No, excuse me.
Oh, sorry, just. Yes,
So moved is actually not a motion. We actually have to have the actual words for the motion.
Okay, Jason Lindsay representing labor. I move that we adopt resolution number 23-01 to resume active operations of the CBOC.
Well done.
all right.
I'll
Second,
second.
Brendan seconds. All right, discussion. Any discussion? Anton?
When the $575 million Proposition 39 bond measure was approved by the voters in March 2020, the school board made a promise to the voters. The school board promised the voters, quote, all bond expenditures will be monitored by an independent citizen bond oversight committee to ensure that funds are spent as provided and specified. Close quote. The CBOC policy approved by the board on January 18th, 2023 does not provide for an independent CBOC. The school board has broken the promise to their voters to provide for an independent CBOC. What is the evidence to support this statement? The following provisions were deleted from the prior policy. Quote, contact district staff, district contractors, or consultants, including without limitations, accountants, auditors, architects, financial advisors, and legal counsel. End quote. What was the board's response to the deletion of this from the prior policy? You can ask Louis Freed if you need an independent legal advice. When I last served on the CBOC, Adam Ferber served as the CBOC independent legal counsel for 6 years. From 2015 to 2020, the attorney-client privilege was between Mr. Ferber and the CBOC. The CBOC did not need to ask permission to obtain independent legal advice. When the CBOC needed independent legal advice protected by the attorney-client privilege, we asked Mr. Ferber for that advice. You might say this is very expensive. The average cost per month for the 6 years of Mr. Ferber's service was $700. The district's attorney cannot provide the CBOC with independent legal advice because they work for the district. This would be a conflict of interest. An independent CBOC, as promised by the school board, must have its own independent legal counsel. The new policy also says we can't talk to the auditors without permission. When I served on the CBOC, the audit subcommittee would have an entrance and exit conference with the auditors for both the annual financial and performance audits. You can't have an independent CBOC if you need permission to talk to the auditors. An independent CBOC An independent CBOC needs to be able to talk directly with the auditors. The new policy deletes the requirement for semi-annual joint board CBOC meetings. The school board response to this deletion was, quote, "The committee and board may hold joint meetings," close quote. An independent CBOC must be able to meet with the school board. At the January 18th, 2023 school board meeting, President Gonzalez Hoy said that the new policy needs to be referred to the bylaws committee to review and continue to gather input from the community on changes. At the January 25th, 2023 board meeting, the bylaw review work group was established with trustee Reckler and President Gonzalez Hoy as members. Their task quoted, quote, "The committee will also review the adopted CBOC policy and gather input from the full board as well as the community and recommend changes if needed to the full board." Close quote. We have a transcript here of that January 18th meeting. Trustee Smith Folds, and I quote, "Thank you very much for the work. It's been a lot of work and you put into it. I appreciate it. I do enjoy going to the CBOC meetings, and I think she's on the Zoom tonight. So I'd like to continue to be monthly. I think it is imperative that the board comes into compliance. We have to start being in compliance with everything we do. And one of the compliance measures is to have a policy. One of the things I want to make sure that we don't give up is our authority over this policy, the board policy. The board needs to be involved. And one way the board is involved is by bringing to our committee to look at it and then have the committee bring the recommendations back to the board. But I think it's imperative that we come into compliance. So that is the reason why I'm voting yes on tonight's policy, with the understanding that we take that to a board committee and the board come back with the language of that board believes to be the best for this policy. Now I'd like to quote what Trustee Reckler said at this meeting. And you will know that Trustee Reckler is the board liaison to our committee. Quote, "For the board, we need to do a better job of providing oversight. We cannot be out of compliance. So the fact that the CBOC wants to suspend operations because they don't have enough people, that is not okay. So this is a start. I think there's a lot of good things in this policy, but there's work that needs to be done, and I'm committed to doing it. And I don't want the board to just pass this and push it to the side, because that's not the right thing to do. And so I'm equally counting on this coming back to a working group. And I just want to be heard." President Gonzalez Hoy, at the conclusion of the meeting, had this to say, quote, "We can continue to incorporate input from the community and that we're here and continue to send to it. I think it's important to me that we are in compliance, especially we have gotten in trouble in the past." And of course, he was referring to the forensic audit we had 2015, which resulted in 112 recommendations, of which only 30 had been audited as in compliance. So this is important to me to do that. Close quote.
Any other discussion? Any comments?
Finished, sir. I think that this resolution should be tabled until such time as the board bylaws review work group completes its work on the new policy. I think the CBOC should have a discussion with the governing board on this policy, so that it will provide for an independent CBOC as they promised to the voters. I yield the floor, Mr. Chair.
Your comment, Lorraine?
Yes, some of the things you mentioned, Anton, like the having, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Some of the things that Anton mentioned about, like having the legal counsel and things like that. There is no place in the ed code that requires that. This is something that had been worked out in a previous board policy. This is the board's policy. It is not our bylaws. So when I came here in 2019, they were working on revising this policy. And now it's several years later and they haven't done it. So I think it is a step forward that we had two people from the CBOC, two people from staff, look over the policies, make comment, the CBOC made comment on parts that to make sure was in law, according to the law. And they gave input. For instance, the ed code says there has to be at least 7 people. Well, the CBOC wanted 11, and the board added that to their policy. So we were commenting on their policy. It's not our bylaws. We have in this resolution a condition that we will continue meeting until December 31st. If this, they used to have a committee, the governance committee, that would go over all the board policies, and they dissolved the committee. So now they are in the process of setting up a committee to specifically go over the board policies. If that committee goes over the board policies and it changes them drastically, we, in December 31st, if we disagree with what they're doing, that we think something is illegal or whatever, we can then go at it again. So when we passed the resolution to stop working, we hadn't had the policy for several years, a revision of it. We also hadn't had the minimum 7 members for a long time. And in the 7 members, you have 5 categories you have to have. And we didn't have the 5 categories. We hadn't had financial reports for several months we still haven't really had complete packets from February of 22. So it'd been several months before we had that. We got to a point where we just felt we couldn't continue working. So that's why we went out. Well, since then, the board has the board has met and approved the policy. They have and January 1st, we had a special joint meeting with them. They approved the policy, and they have since then gotten us several 4 new members. So we now have the 7 minimum members, and there's another one going to be interviewed next week. So they're working toward getting what we need. And I think this is very reasonable to say, well, we'll go back and work. We couldn't do an annual report this year because we ceased doing anything. We couldn't vote on anything after we did this. We were trying to just get their attention and say, hey, we need this. And at that meeting, the trustees recognized that and acknowledged that. So I think we should pass this policy. If things go south, we have December 31st we can do something at that point.
Finished, Lorraine?
Yes.
Any other comments?
As the maker of the motion. I understand Anton's point that there are several things that maybe have not been addressed to his liking, or maybe the board, the CBOC's liking. However, at some point, we have to get the ball rolling again. We have to keep going. We have to trudge through it, even though there's things that we don't like or things that we think need to be better. The way to make them better is not to stop. The way to make them better is to work through it and keep progressing. So with that in mind, that's why I made the motion.
Thank you, Jason. Also might be one, I'll echo what Lorraine and Jason have both said. This policy is based on the law. In other words, it doesn't, and as Lorraine said, the ed code does not talk about some of the things that Anton mentioned and that have been the way there have been some past operations. Now, the way I see it, we have a policy that we can work under that and resume our active operations. And if, when the board committee goes through and comes up with recommendations, they can add as they see fit. And, but we must move forward or we really can't do anything without approving this resolution. So there, we have public comment on this thing. Kevin? We have any public comment? Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll call for a vote. Yes, sir.
Mr. Freeze, can the CBOC have independent legal counsel?
Yes.
I didn't ask your opinion. I asked.
I'm
Mr.
sorry,
Freeze.
sir, I have the permission of the chair to
I didn't
answer this
give you
question.
permission.
And if we could just remind folks that all questions and comments actually go to the chair. And you would direct anyone else to answer them.
Yeah.
However, that question does not seem germane to the resolution, to the motion. Is it somewhere else on the agenda?
Being independent.
It isn't, but I forgot, I should have answered that in my comment. The way, my understanding is the way that the district operates with legal counsel is they're not employees of the district. They hire a firm to represent the district. So if there is I see it as if there is a need for legal counsel, that a firm would be contracted that is independent of anything that's presently going on in the district. It would not be someone from the firm that's providing all the, the district's day-to-day activities.
No, that wouldn't be the case.
I
Or
couldn't
could-
hear the answer.
I said that may not be the case.
That may not be the case.
But, well, it's one of the activities that the board subcommittee will work on.
Well,
Yes, Lorraine.
Yeah, I think at that same meeting, Lewis mentioned when they were talking about a lawyer, I think Lewis said that if you come to them and you think that their lawyer cannot be objective in this case, they would consider having another lawyer come in to talk to you. I don't know if that's correct or not.
Yeah, I don't recollect that.
Depending on the nature of the request for an attorney to avoid some of the legal fees, we'd either try to answer your question. If it was something impropriety of that nature, that information could be sought outside of the district. It could be sought of the county for legal representation on those matters. Or if it was something that would brought to the superintendent, he deemed it needed independent legal counsel, he could do that as the superintendent. Our goal would try to.
I'm
get the
sorry, I
operating-
could not hear Mr. Freeze, what he said. I mean, could you repeat what you said? I couldn't hear it.
I said the district would try to either answer the question at hand or direct it to our legal counsel, depending on the nature of the question that would come from the CBOC. The superintendent has the ability to defer to other legal counsel, depending on the nature of the request.
Okay, through the chair, may I ask Mr. Freeze a question?
Yes, sir.
does the independent CBOC have the authority to ask for independent legal advice, or to depend on the superintendent agreeing to provide it? What I understand from your response, you just said that it would be up to the superintendent to determine if we could get independent legal advice.
It would be up to the superintendent.
Thank you. So I submit, Mr. Chair, that we are not an independent oversight committee as promised by the voters when we cannot get independent legal advice as we had for 6 years. And I'm not prepared to support a resolution that says we are independent. And let's talk about talking to the accountants. They deleted from the policy that says we can talk to the accountants. We need the permission of Mr. Freeze to talk to the accountants. We're an independent bond oversight committee.
Mr. Chair, while all of those are extremely important ideas and concepts, they are outside of the germaneness of just this resolution to resume active operations. There's, all of those are relevant to policy and all of that, but if you read the resolution, the motion is to adopt this resolution, and those items are not part of the resolution. This is only to resume active operations.
That's correct.
So if there are no more comments on the actual resolution itself, you should probably call for a
What's your
vote.
comment on the actual resolution?
yeah. The first whereas says that the board approved a revised policy that provides for an independent CBOC. How can you say it's not on the agenda? It's the first line on the resolution. And I'm speaking to the fact that, in my view, the policy adopted was not providing for an independent CBOC. And it says that on the top of this agenda. So I think it's a legitimate item for discussion at this meeting. And I don't appreciate the parliamentarian interfering with our meeting. And I would like to know who authorized. Can I ask through the chair, may I ask a question to Mr. Freeze?
Yes,
Mr. Freeze, who authorized the parliamentarian and who's paying for it? And what what money source is it coming from?
So for the general fund.
General fund, and who authorized having the parliamentarian at our meeting?
So it was discussed with the chair of the CBOC.
The chairman requested it. And what is that correct?
I said it was discussed and approved by the chair of the
The
CBOC.
chair of the committee, right? And what's the cost?
The cost is $900 per meeting.
For what?
yes, ma'am.
1,000?
And I do offer a 10% discount for a prop payment. So I want to make sure that gets in there too.
I didn't. What was the
But
answer?
the point is, from Mr. Freeze's point, is they are out of general funds, not out of the bond.
Yeah, I understand that. The general fund's going broke. What was the cost? I didn't hear his answer.
We'll have to, I'll have to stop discussion on this and go back to the motion, which is to resume active operations.
Mr. Chair, he said the cost. I just want to hear what he said. I couldn't hear what he said. It said 1,900 or what did he say?
900 per meeting.
900 per meeting. That was the answer? Thank
Yes.
you.
So I
would like to motion that this matter be tabled until the June meeting.
I would, yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, being that I'm new and I'm listening and trying to take everything in here. From my, this observation, let me know if I'm correct or not. without adopting the resolution, the whole committee is still tabled? Or can you move forward? And if we do adopt this, can we add amendments to it as we go? But without adopting, no work or nothing can happen.
That's
Is that
that's
correct?
correct. Without adopting this, we're basically suspended.
Okay.
We're getting ourselves out of suspension.
Okay,
And that's really the portion, the purpose of this, and as others have said, anything. The most important thing is us getting to work, and then any changes will come through the board's subcommittee's recommendations.
perfect. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor?
Postponing.
If, no, well,
You have a motion.
be in the second.
So anytime we actually start discussing something, it's an automatic second.
Okay,
So we do need, your motion was seconded, so
okay, so the motion is to table,
postpone.
to postpone consideration of this resolution. And I'll call the roll.
That was not the
Until-
motion.
Your motion
until-
was,
You can't even get the goddamn motion straight.
Come on.
The motion was to postpone this item.
until June.
Correct.
The June meeting.
Yes, sir.
So I'll call for a vote. Are there any, all those in favor?
All right,
What, tell them what you want them to do. How do you want them to do it? Raise their hand.
Just raise your hand.
Okay. So all those in
I
favor?
request a roll call vote.
That's a
All right.
debate. We'll go right to a roll call.
John Anderson, no. Brendan, Dutton?
Point of order, question.
yes, ma'am, yes, sir.
I'm confused. We made a motion, we seconded, we had discussion. Another motion was made, and now we're voting on that motion
Right. So we have that motion.
because we had discussion of that second motion.
Yes, that's correct.
No,
Lorraine,
No,
Anton,
Yes,
Jason,
No,
Tamika,
No,
the noes have it, the motion is rejected. Okay,
Chair.
now we need to go to the vote on the original motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I have an amendment. Our amendment's in order.
Yes.
You want to ask your parliamentarian,
We'll consider it.
beg pardon?
What is your amendment?
I mean, you're gonna consider it based on what I say, or,
What is your amendment?
okay, my amendment is that, the first whereas be deleted. Which says that the policy adopted provided for an independent CBOC.
Is there a second? No seconds.
I have another amendment. I'd like to propose that we amend in the first resolve that we substitute the date of June 30th, 2023 for the December 31, 2023.
Is there a second? No second. All right,
Another amendment. I'd like to propose in regards to section item 2, I think having an election of officers at this meeting when I do not know 4 people of the committee. I think that's premature. I don't think why that's needed. I think it's too soon. One of the members I mean, we haven't even, I haven't even met the other four members, new members. So I'd like to propose that that item be, deleted from the proposal.
Do I have a second? No second. Okay, let's call for a vote. All those in favor of resolution 2301, resume active operations of the CBOC. Say aye, I will go around. the
Roll
group.
call vote.
Yes, ma'am.
Because we're a Brunette compliant, we never say go with the voice vote like that. We have to account for everyone's vote. So
Okay, let's,
we could do raise hands, however, the best
I'll
secretary.
I'll
or roll
call the, we don't have a secretary.
Okay.
I'll call the, roll, John Anderson, yes. Brendan,
Yes.
yes. Lorraine,
Yes,
Anton,
No,
Jason,
Yes.
yeah, she's absent, one absence. Tamika,
Yes,
all right. Motion carries with, 5 yes, 1 no, and 1 absent. Okay, now, the next step is in there is to elect officers. Per that resolution,
your jacket.
Anton?
Is that the coat?
we have, three officers, a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary. We've been operating basically with those, myself and Lorraine, who were elected well over almost a year and a quarter now. So at first, I would like to entertain nominations for chairperson. You can self-nominate. Lorraine,
Pardon?
you can self-nominate.
Yes, I'd like to give it a try.
Okay, we have a
Second.
second. Excuse me,
Any other nominations?
any other nominations for chair? Okay, I think we'll do this by voice.
We can do it by acclamation because we only have one person. So you, as a chair, you just announced
Okay,
by acclamation, Lorraine.
by acclamation, Lorraine, Humes is the chairperson of the CBOC. The second position is for vice chair. And I'd like to, nominate Brendan.
Second.
Do we have any other nominations?
Tamika, are you interested?
oh no, you got this one. I'll call.
I know he's willing.
Got my back.
Yeah, I got your back.
I checked with him before I nominated him. So with that, again, having no other,
Secretary?
no other candidates, will, proclaim Brendan the vice chair. And then nomination for secretary.
Secretary Treasurer.
No, there's no treasurer in this one.
Okay.
Secretary.
I'd like-
Lorraine,
I've spoken to John and he said he's willing to do it, so I would nominate him for secretary.
Second.
You're doing it second.
so if there are, since there are any other candidates? There are no other candidates, John Anderson is elected secretary.
Mr. Chairman,
And so with
Mr. Chairman?
that, yes,
Public comment.
and I assume that you've done this by acclamation, so the record will automatically declare that this is a unanimous vote, since you have to list the votes by name.
Mhm.
Even though they haven't actually said yes.
because it is by acclamation, anyone at any time. If it's an acclamation or if the chair asks if there are no objections, anyone can object and we'll go straight to a roll call.
Okay, I didn't hear him ask if there were any objections.
The acclamation would be if there are no objections.
Well,
So
if people don't know that,
you're right.
there's an
absolutely.
assumption that it's automatic. And I'm a stickler for actually for rules and for making sure that the minutes accurately reflect, because we go back to these minutes on a routine basis and reflect and we say it's not in there. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is the calendar. And I put a calendar in the packet on page 31. We scheduled this meeting for the 27th because we hoped that we were going to have an auditor's report. A preliminary report.
It's not ready.
Yeah, well, what the calendar reflects here is we're staying with the second Monday of every month, which means the next meeting will be April 10th.
I had a question about the April 10th meeting and just wanted to, I would have to be here by Zoom. It's the day after Easter, so it's a travel day for a lot of.
That's your chairman over there.
So, April 10th would be,
Okay.
I can still attend, but I'd be here by Zoom.
Yeah.
Just to let you know.
Right. Louis, that's Columbus Day, October 9th is Columbus Day.
Right.
It's a federal holiday, it's not a state holiday. Is it a WCCUSD holiday?
Monday.
You have no school, but I mean for your state.
For Monday. Let's go by the calendar. It's the 10th, we're here.
It's the second Monday in the month, so this year,
No. Yeah, October 9th.
Which date?
9th, October
Oh,
9th.
October 9th, I'm sorry. I was thinking. Yeah, we're here.
We normally have it.
Give us a minute.
Sure.
Keep track of them all.
Yes, but is it a staff day?
It's a smoke day, so
We're here.
as long as we don't utilize a smoke day, it won't be an actual day.
Okay, good. There's no school. Oh.
No, the schedule is school, but. it's not.
Be out of the country.
Oh, you're.
On what day? On October 9th?
October 9th, yeah.
Yeah, I would, we've kind of dealt with that in the past. It depends, if we've got a quorum. People going,
Yeah, just one person out is.
if it's just one person, so I
But
think
Staff wasn't.
I would, we can kind of cover that when we get to it.
Did someone note when Anton left for the minutes?
I did.
You did? Okay,
You noted?
Well, I mean, it's shown on the camera, but
okay.
The time was 6:49.
So,
So you, Mr. Chair, the chair has.
yeah, well, do you want to start this one, Lorraine, or do you want me to finish the asking for a motion?
Oh, sure. All right, I have a motion to,
You don't need to do, you can say. If there are no objections, the calendar.
okay. If there are no objections, the calendar will be adopted. Are there any objections? No, so the calendar is adopted.
Okay,
Yes.
so the next item is. That's right, I can't. Go ahead.
You can still talk. Be direct note for the new chair.
So the next item will be, the action or consent agenda. And, we moved that here because we have to vote on it. We had to get back in action before we could vote. It's number B on the agenda. It consists of the, oh, I don't have to read
No.
that? Okay.
So
And again, this is a great situation where you just say there are no objections. The consent calendar will be adopted.
Okay, if there are no objections, the consent calendar will be adopted. Are there any objections? No objections. Okay, good, that was good. See, the next item is the reports from the staff. These reports do not have to be, oh, hi, I think we have a new member here. Can I stop and
That's- go
introduce?
ahead.
This is Jama.
Yes,
Yes, hi, Jama.
hi, I'm Gia. And I'm a current member of Citizen Oversight Committee at El Cerrito, City of El Cerrito. And this is my first time here,
Yes.
and I called in for the previous meeting already.
Mhm. Yeah, we had some technical difficulties, so you couldn't get off mute, so it's good you're here in person this time.
Thank you,
Yeah.
and I continue to learn from you guys.
Mhm. Great, well, welcome to the committee. Just let me quickly go around the table to introduce everyone. The gentleman to your right is Jason Lindsay. He's an at-large member, but he also represents business trades. This is Tamisha Vallet. She's a new member. She's a registered nurse and may not have experience in it, but she has interest in the committee. My name's Lorraine Hughes. I'm going into my 5th year on the committee. I've worked on the annual report, and I wanted to give it a try, so I got to be chairman this year. To my left is Tamara. She is a parliamentarian to help us get to do this professionally. If we're having a meeting and we don't know what we're doing, that doesn't give the public confidence. So the district has hired her. She helps on the board of trustees meetings. So they hired her to help us out until we get the idea down how to run a meeting. To Tamara's left is John Anderson. John Anderson is in his 2nd term.
Yeah, midway through the second thing.
Yeah, and he is a professional engineer, and his engineering is large construction. He's done things in, you've worked on,
Well, most of my projects are probably larger budgets than the entire bond program. Subways, tunnels, dams, heavy civil construction.
Hurricane Katrina you worked on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everybody did.
right. So he's a experience in that, and he has been on the annual report. He's been the chairperson of the committee. Next to him is a new member, Brandon Havener Thoughton. And he used to be on the Oakland, several years ago, he was on the Oakland Unified School District, CBOC. Jia is on the El Cerrito Streets CBOC, so she's had some experience there. And Brandon has also had, he's had experience, he chaired a annual report for when he was in Oakland. And to his left is Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze is head of the facilities department. And he is our liaison with the superintendent of schools. To his left is Ellen Maher Cooper. She is in charge of the construction. She will give a report later on telling us what they're doing in the construction field. And to her left is Board of Education trustee Reckler, Leslie Reckler. She is our liaison with the board. He is here. And I just would like to also introduce Mr. Gosney back here. Mr. Gosney has been on as a former CBOC member. After, you can be on for 3 terms, 2 years per term, and he's termed out. And then you have to wait before you can apply again if you want to. So Mr. Gosney and he also works he worked in the trades. So he comes to every meeting. He comes to every meeting, so he has quite a bit of experience. So you'll be seeing him at our meetings. Okay.
Submitted a new application, again, my 5th one tonight.
Yeah. Right. So, welcome to the committee and welcome to all the new people here. Thank you.
Madam Chairman,
Oh, yes, this is trustee.
I just would like to,
Yes. Another favorite, or another person.
I would just like to introduce myself.
Go ahead. There's a.
Yes, ma'am. I would just like to introduce myself. I'm Jamila Smith Folds. I'm one of the school board trustees that attend the CBOC also. Thank you.
That's great. And she is also a member of the interview committee. You met her for the applicants. She and trustee Reckler are the board members on that committee. Okay. All right, now let's see, where
Item D.
Hmm?
Item D.
D? Okay, thank you. Now, like I was saying, the staff gives us reports. They give us a financial packet. You saw that in your agenda. In our agenda this week, because of stopping functioning, we've been put back on a couple things, and one of the things is getting reports in. So you see, we have 2 financial reports. The financial reports are like for the month before. So normally in a March meeting, you'll get a financial report for February. We don't have that tonight, but we do have November and December's financial reports here. We also have minutes from previous programs. So I don't know, is we going to have a financial report tonight? Oh, I'm sorry.
So we have, on the agenda, we have a list, and you would start with item A, offer that report. If there is no report, you would move on.
Okay,
Perfect.
all right. And the facilities master plan project update, consolidated budget report. Will we be having that tonight?
Yes,
Oh, good. Are you gonna do it, Louis?
yes,
All right, great. Then would you begin with your?
actually, I believe Ellen has her presentation. before.
Okay. And Ellen will be giving the status of the different projects in this. So,
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ellen Mejia Hooper. I am the Director of Facilities Planning and Construction. So for our project status update, we typically give a summary of all of our active bond projects, and that's the first slide that you'll see here. When we get down to construction, I've included a little extra that we don't normally present, but because we had so many new members this time around, we wanted to make sure you got some level of background into the project. So I'll kind of skip over those towards the bottom, but I'll go through the top ones. So you'll notice at the very top, we've got our planning phase. And so what we have in planning right now is the Kennedy, Richmond, and Steege scoping and prioritization process that we are currently issuing architectural RFPs for. That's requests for proposals. So all 3 of these projects have been identified by the board as projects that they would like us to pursue, but they have not been formally allotted a budget. So we need to go through the process of making sure that we understand what the budget is and what the prioritization of that scoping is so that we can bring it forward to the board to get authorization to move forward with the project beyond that. These are mostly designated for the Measure R ballot measure. However, Steege has some money associated with D and E as part of our facility master plan. So our last This facility master plan was passed in 2016. And it identified what we call critical needs projects. Those were established as a kind of a stopgap measure when there wasn't enough money to be able to cover all of the schools that had still significant needs. So there was a determination of what a critical needs project could be at each campus. Every campus had a little different project selected. You're going to see that listed below in several of our other projects as well. So both Kennedy High School and Stige had critical needs projects that involved demolishing buildings and setting up temporary housing. So those projects are melded into this RFP process. For design, we have Shannon Elementary School. At Shannon Elementary School, the critical need project that was identified in the master plan was creating a new NPR, multi-purpose room. The multi-purpose room currently is housed within a portable, that is a well-aged portable with very limited kitchen space. So the master plan project was to build a permanent building for their multi-purpose room as well as a kitchen. And the other supporting spaces that go along with a multi-purpose room. We are in DSA. We are doing the final review. We're going back and forth to complete the last of their comments and hope to get out of DSA. DSA is the Division of State Architect. They are our approval agency. So we have to go to them to be able to get a permit to be able to build. So we don't go to the city or the county like you would if you were updating your house. We go to the state agency. So anyways, we're almost through that process, which will allow us to go out to bid and start construction. For procurement, we have Hercules and Riverside. So Hercules Middle School and High School critical needs project was to build a science facility. We have 8 science labs that are being built, 4 for the middle school, 4 for the high school, as well as some supporting spaces. Again, these were not part of the original build. They've been utilizing 1 or 2 spaces within their current school that act as a science lab as well as some additional portables. So we are building larger science labs that are more associated with what the rest of the district has for science facilities. Riverside Elementary School playground improvement project. This is kind of an outshot of the critical needs project, which was to stabilize the hillside or the slope next to the creek. So that stabilization, the soil stabilization project has been complete, but now that we've done that, in that process, we ended up taking out a playground structure. So we are reestablishing the kindergarten playground structure as well as doing other improvements to the main playground area. So that is also out to bid. And as I said, for the construction pieces, I've got visual aids so you don't have to stare at the chart. For the lake project, E-rate is a grant from the federal government. We utilize bond funds as our matching. But it's primarily sourced out of this organization out of the federal government, and it has to do with our technology upgrades. So we are running new cabling to be able to support our Wi-Fi network at various schools across the district. Collins and Cameron, Kennedy, and Pinole all have separate slides, but Pinole Valley High School is the field restoration and bleacher project that really was the last phase of the rebuild at Pinole Valley High School. It involved taking out the temporary facilities that were in place during the rebuild process and turning those spaces back into a field. We have completed the notice of completion for the main contract has already gone out to the board. That was passed at the last board meeting. So we were really finishing up the paperwork and things to close that project down. Okay, moving on to the pictures. let's get to some pictures. Okay, Kennedy High School field bleacher and press box. This is a before picture, just so we're clear. This is not the after picture. Yes,
How do I do this? Do I?
You recognize all questions and all questions. for you,
Okay.
and
Yes, Tanisha, you have a question?
Yes, Madam Chair, I have a question about to know. The restoration of the field bleachers, it says it's on the status of closeout, meaning they're done. But Pinole Valley High School field is in need of some work. I guess my question is, who oversees the people who do the work? And if the work or if something is done that's incorrect, do we have insurance or do they have to go back and correct if they did something?
There's a warranty,
There's a warranty, yes, because Pinole Valley Field and their bleachers are already messed up. I don't know if you guys heard of that, but I know because I'm up there a lot.
so maybe we can talk to you after the meeting and.
Okay, so I was just asking because I saw
Yeah.
clothes out there. All right,
Um,
thank you. Madam
sure.
Chair.
Good.
Right.
Yes.
Madam
Mr.
Chair,
Gosnell.
just a request from the public, please remind the CBOC members to speak loud enough so that we can hear them here and also that they can be heard on the Zoom recordings.
Thank you.
Some of them are very soft, some of them were up and down.
Yeah. Maybe we
Thank
can look into getting, we used to have microphones, maybe we can look into getting the microphones back again, we'll see.
Yeah, the problem with the microphones, if we're using the owl to present out on the Zoom, then the feedback between the microphones and this device,
Mhm.
they don't work well. But just,
We'll work something out. We'll figure
Sorry.
it-
Most of you speak loudly enough. Other people are just a little bit
Yeah.
softer in their tone. It just,
Okay.
if we can remember that, it would be helpful. And
Good.
remember, this is not just a conversation over a table coffee.
Yeah,
This is a public meeting.
right. Perhaps if, Mr. Gosnell, you're the furthest away. If you have trouble hearing, just stick your hand up and then the person who's speaking will be reminded to talk louder. Would that work?
It would have, except for the people with their backs turned to me.
Well, I'll hit her.
Any help you can give, I'd appreciate it.
Thank
Won't have any trouble from me.
Never have.
It won't happen again.
Well, it's, would you continue?
yes, of course. So, this is the before, so, just to kind of orient you, this yellow area is Cutting Boulevard. This is Burke that comes around the back of the campus. This is the student parking lot and the main campus is down here. So traditionally, the main bleacher area was adjacent to Burke. This is now our visitor side. Our home side has now been installed on this side. And if we go to the plan, this shows, sorry for the rotation. So now Cutting is up here and Burke is around this side. Our new plan has, like I said, the visitors on the old home side. We've established a new home side over here, so built new bleacher complex as well as the press box. We have taken up the old turf carpeting and put down new turf carpeting, improved the drainage along the sides. We are currently taking up the track surfacing and re-track surfacing it if the rain will stop. Which I'm told it will someday. We also got a new scoreboard. We relocated the long jumps out of what you call the D zones. So the D zones are these half circle areas on either side of the field. We've moved the long jumps out of here so that we could build a second one in the opposing direction. We've also refurbished the shot put area and moved the discus next to the shot put because there's only one coach that teaches throwing, so the adjacency was important. Those are the major highlights. We also did some ADA work, new fencing. ADA is Americans with Disabilities Act, and it has to do with access, making sure that we have access for all people. Which also dictated the fence changes up at the front of campus. We did plan on being completed in March. We were well on our way to being completed in March, and then Mother Nature decided that we should not be completed in March. I do not have a completion date, but I will as soon as 10 days of dry weather happen in a row. But we did do things. We have done things. This is looking from the new home side across to the new visitors bleachers. So you can see that they're mostly installed. We're still working on some ramps on either side, but otherwise it's put together and ready for use. The field has been fully infilled with the infill material. And as we move along, this shows that the ramp work on the home side is partially complete.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jason has a question. Excuse us.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Through the chair. Who was the contractor that did the bleachers? Was that Mike Russell Construction or Southern Bleacher Company?
The Southern Bleacher did the actual was the sub. However, BHM, I always is the general.
BHM.
I always want to flip those letters.
Thank you.
Moving on, so we're still working a little on the ramps. We did get the scoreboard in. However, we haven't been able to turn it on just yet. Our district folks were hooking up the last of the IT piece so that we can get this turned on pretty soon. But it looks nice. And then we also installed a new water fountain with bottle filler. So that's on the restroom concession stand building. And those are the updates for Kennedy.
Okay. Another question, Mr. Gosman?
Yes, please. What is the track team doing this season since you destroyed their track? How are they going to shine for our community at the state championships?
I believe they are using other facilities around the district.
So they're having to move to another school?
Which is also what our football and soccer teams did.
Wow. Thank you.
If I could make the rain stop, I would, but I can't. So we keep going. But we were on track to be finished by now. It's just
Thought you were all powerful. No? Okay.
rain gods won't listen to me. So Collins and Cameron critical needs projects. Collins and Cameron have very similar scopes. So to make the most out of these projects, we actually bid them out as one package. The scope for this work is to replace the existing boiler system with a true heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, otherwise HVAC system. So we are adding HVAC units to each classroom space, as well as adding it to the offices, which is what we're doing at both campuses. To be able to support that project, though, we have to upgrade the electrical infrastructure. And anytime we do a project and that meets certain criteria, it goes to DSA, which dictates that we need to also do access improvements. So we have a variety of access improvements.
Mr. Vice Chair,
Yes.
are those traditional split systems or are they heat pumps?
It's a VRF, so a variant refrigerant flow. So it's a heat pump
It's a heat
of
pump.
sorts. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
A follow-up question on that is the panel upgrade considering future load of EV charging or fuel switching from removing natural gas from the facilities?
I don't believe that's necessarily within the calculation, although it's significantly better than what's out there right now. But I'd have to look into it to confirm for
It should
sure.
be a good opportunity.
I know we've added capacity, so there may still be space for it. I just don't know to what level. So at Cameron, if people aren't familiar with Cameron, it's one of our specialty sites. It actually supports our special education, early childhood education program. So it's and it's in El Cerrito. So this is the inside of Cameron. We're starting to cut through to be able to install the ducts. So that's what you're seeing occurring here. We also, like I said, have to do access improvements as part of any major project. So one of the things that were out of compliance was the front driveway, as well as the ADA parking stalls. So those have been, the asphalt has been removed and will be replaced at the proper slopes to make that work, as well as some underground utility work for our drainage, our sewer and stormwater. Another part of our access compliance was installing compliant restrooms. We took the opportunity while doing that to be able to establish a storage room. So these are actually 3 different spaces. We have a student restroom, an adult restroom, and a storage room. So this was when we went ahead and put the vapor barrier down, and they're starting to form up the curbs. At Collins, not as much work is happening as quickly because obviously we're in school. For Cameron, we moved the residents out of that space into the temporary campus at Burke. But at Collins, they are still there, but that doesn't mean work is not happening. So they're doing the infrastructure investigation during spring break. They'll be marking all of the places for the layout for where they're going to be cutting holes this summer, so that work can be jump started. They've been trying to work on the pads and enclosures for the equipment. However, the rain has also disrupted that activity. So as soon as it dries out enough, we'll be installing the pad for that. Lake Elementary is our largest construction project that's currently underway. It is a full campus replacement of the existing elementary school. For those that don't know Lake, it's over in San Pablo. And it's an interesting campus because the only street frontage is Giant Road, which is that way over where the fields are, and not the front of the school at all. So 11th and 12th Street both dead into the campus, as well as Manchester on the backside. Previously, Manchester, though, has not been really a main access point except for pedestrians. So what we're doing for the first phase is all the students are on site while construction is occurring. So this section of the campus in the gray is currently occupied as part of phase 1. So they're staying in the existing buildings on this side, and we are building these 3 buildings, which is the admin library, as well as the 2 main classroom buildings for 1st through 6th grade. Over on the east side of campus. Once those are complete, you'll see our star here. This is where we are. Once those are complete, which is anticipated for winter of 24, we will move into the new campus, into the 3 new buildings. We're doing a little bit of temporary work to support kitchen functions as well as kindergarten within these buildings. And then we will go under construction for the gray area, which will include the multi-purpose room, the kindergarten, as well as the major playground space. We anticipate the entire project to be completed around the summer of 25. So here is the admin building as it is today, or was a week or 2 ago. So this is the front entrance canopy right here. This is going to be the front door, lobby space. We have some offices. This main core is our office area. That includes also additional space for our full service community school support staff. And then we have a teacher lounge and a learning center over on this side. This side with this like L shape is our library, table space, and community room. This section here is our main utility core. So you see that we've got it somewhat outlined. The part that you don't see is we did run a whole bunch of utilities into this already and then covered them with rock. But we are moving along. So as far as building, this is the progression of building A. We are also building up building C, as well as B, is a little further behind because that's where the stockpile was occurring. So, again, we're trying to move along as much as we can. We have winterized the site. So trying to keep it dry as we can get. And when the weather cooperates, we keep moving on undergrounds, and hope very soon to go vertical. We also produce construction newsletters every month for each of the projects so that they can be distributed. If you would like to sign up for or as being part of the CBOC, we typically email them out. I don't think we were necessarily accomplished that with our free new members, but stay tuned next month. We do have a sign up on our website as well as individual web pages for each one of our projects on the website, so that each person who's interested in a particular project has a place to go to see that project. Because a lot of times a school site's really just interested in their project, right? So those are listed on each one of the newsletters.
Mr. Gosney has a question?
Yes.
You know, Nepal and Tibet make a fortune off of selling permits to climb Mount Everest. Considering that mountain of dirt that you got on Giant, have we considered selling permits to mountaineers? Because we could pay for that school. That's one big mound of dirt.
It is a significant mound of dirt. We have Mount San Pablo. But no, we have not sold tickets. It's an active construction site, and that would, I'm pretty sure, kill any sort of insurance that they currently have. So then we also have Collins and Cameron, as well as Lake. We also produce, yes, sorry.
Ellen, on your newsletter, I noticed at the bottom, you have the WCCUSD website. And I was wondering if, try to get the CBOC some publicity. Could we put our website on there also? Could you, and could you spell out Citizens Bond Oversight Committee? Because not everybody knows what CBOC is.
Certainly we can look into it, yeah.
Okay, great. I'll contact you about it so we can get some publicity.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Just since we're plugging things at the moment, I do, I'm not the best at keeping up the Instagram and Facebook account, but I do post things from time to time. And I did post that we had this meeting tonight.
Good.
So they do, I try to keep up with it the best I can. At the same time, we don't always want to advertise the type of equipment and things that we have out on a construction site. So we always kind of like debate. It's like, no, I'm not going to take a picture of the copper piping. But anyways, there is that. So if you look at the bottom, WCCUSD facilities is where you can find us on both Instagram and Facebook. On top of that, we produce these reports, which are called our status reports. They hold a variety of information as well as which contractor is on the project. If you ever want to know that information. So if we zoom in here quickly, this covers what the general scope of the project is. It has the project team that includes the architect, the construction manager, the contractor, and the inspector. We have the schedule, which unfortunately, we really thought we were going to be done. As well as covering where we are with the contract itself, what the original contract amount was, what change orders, CO stands for change orders, what change orders have been executed by the board. Every change order goes to the board to be approved. And they have different reason codes for why we have that change order. So unforeseen condition, owner requested, design change, an outside agency or other. Typically our most prominent one is our unforeseen. And then we also have what we call PCOs, which are proposed change orders. So these are things we're working on with contractor They're either known or anticipated to be an additional cost. Some of them we reject right out. So we say, well, we'd like to pursue this, or they gave us several options of how to solve a particular project that comes up. And we say, you know what, we don't want A or B, but we'll take C. So that's part of what goes in the rejected ones, or otherwise there's other things that we say, well, while you're here, let's look at this. And then depending on what the cost is and the other circumstances around it, we may say yes or no.
Jason?
Yes, does each project have a certain percentage for contingency or unforeseen condition?
It's hard to have a certain percentage because the construction or the overall project budget is established way back before design even begins.
Mhm.
So we go forward with project budget, but we never know what's going to happen on bid day. So bid day might come, the project might cost more, it might cost less. So depending on how that works out, we always try to have some level of change order or contingency within the project, but we're never really guaranteed what that is until bids come in, because you can't control it, right?
Right.
So
Well, you have an engineer's estimate, don't you?
yes, we do. So, I mean, we try to stay within the engineer's estimate, which normally includes a contingency. But throughout the design, but then depending on how the bid day comes in, it'll always vary.
Sure. Materials and labor always go up.
Right. The other piece that's difficult is we have a variety of consultants that we need to complete construction. We have our inspector, that is a DSA requirement. We have special inspections and labs that we have to pay for. And then also what we call FF&E, which is furniture, fixtures, and equipment. So all of those things contribute to the overall project budget versus the construction budget. So we have to have some level of buffer within the project budget to account for those items. And those are not always known costs right at the beginning of construction either. So there's a variety of ways that contingency can be used and frequently does get used. So that's kind of the complication of the project.
Thank you.
And Ellen, I'd just like to make a mention for the new people. Don't expect to understand all this stuff. Don't worry about it. We're gonna have more training on these things. You'll actually see change orders. This is just, you're along for the ride tonight, okay? Just enjoy it.
Right. So overall stored and completed to date is really how much we've paid out. We've paid out 58% of the contract thus far. And then we just have a quick summary of what we completed last month, what we're anticipating for the following month, and if there are any issues that are known in the project. We had a very hard time getting that drinking fountain. You might not realize why that picture's there, but that drinking fountain took forever to get here. So we are super proud that it's here now. And then, of course, as I've stated already, there were rain delays, which continue to hamper the ability for us to complete the track as well as the scoreboard was delayed in snow.
One more question.
Sure, Jason.
Beans were at 58.06%. Is this project, does it, with the information you have at this time, understood that there's no way to know 100%, but with the information you have at this time, is this on track to be within the budget?
The project budget, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So anyways, I won't go through all of these. I just wanted to give you kind of a flavor of what the information was. Typically, we don't really stop on these unless you guys have a specific question, but we do produce them for each one of the projects. Collins and Cameron, as I stated earlier, is one contractor. So we did put it together in one status report, even though we produce separate newsletters, because each community we feel like would like a newsletter. But the status report is too hard to separate considering that it's a single contract. We also have Lake Lake is kind of a fun case. It's what we call a design build project. So it's a little different. It has built-in contingencies into the project itself. Since you've already gotten the fire hose treatment tonight, we probably won't go into that at the moment, but just something to be aware of. And I believe that is the end of our status report for the projects.
Any other questions before we go on?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Brandon?
Has the district had trouble dealing with lead pipes or anything related to drinking fountains?
No, we haven't. So our reports are actually online, you can look them up. But,
Great.
yeah, most of what we found when we did the testing was our fixtures. So the drinking fountain, the bubbler, our faucet, typically would have lead within the solder joint. But once we changed those devices, we came within compliance.
Excellent.
Don?
As a former president of the plumbers union, they stopped using lead pipes right around the beginning of World War II, and our oldest school right now is from 1942, that's Steege Elementary, which may have some lead pipes, but the bigger concern is the lead soldering in the pipes, but not actually lead pipes. There are plenty of other lead pipes around Richmond, but not in our school district at least.
Any other question? Okay, Louis, would you give us, normally, we have Melissa Page giving us our financial packet. And she's the head of contracts with, for this department.
So I'm not gonna try to stand in for her tonight, but so she will give you an in-depth review of these reports at the next CBOC meeting. But I can walk you through what we have in front of us tonight, just as a quick overview. And try to be aware of the time that we're at tonight. So we have a variety of reports, and with the help of the CBOC over the years, we've developed these reports to be very user-friendly, and they contain a lot of information. So this very first report we're looking at is a consolidated budget status report, and it actually gives you a report on the entire program. So it goes back to the very first bond of what was it, 1998. So it accounts for those dollars for the program. But within this report, when you look at the particular report, you see the word legacy. Legacy means it was a project before the 2016 master plan. That was our most recent master plan. And prior to the 2020 Measure R bond, that was kind of where we delineate between the program and moving forward. So where you see on particular ones like Cameron, where it has critical needs will define the 2016 master plan projects that Ellen had talked about earlier. And then where you see the legacy project, that would tell you what was spent on that school with bond dollars prior to 2016. So if you peruse this report, you'll see a number of schools that will have critical needs, and you'll see then the legacy dollars. The legacy dollars just speak to the overall program over the life of the bond program here with the district. I'll just scroll down. And this here is listed by elementary schools and high schools. Middle schools and high schools, so.
We're getting there.
So you can kind of, so if you go to, oh, it's always a good one.
Well, when you get to number 2, that's our middle.
Middle schools, and number 3 is our high schools, as you look to on the left-hand margin of the report. And so Pinole has a variety of different projects that happen over the life of that particular school. While it has an overall budget of $216 million, you can see there were dollars spent earlier on the campus before the building was ever demolished. So there was $1 spent over the, a 10-year, 20-year period before the school was actually reconstructed. So when you look at this report, that's what you'll see. And you scroll down to the bottom. So this will give you an overall view of the budget and our expenditures within the program. So you can see the entire budget was $1.7 billion. Spent is 1.6, almost $1.65 billion. So 92% of the overall bond program dollars have been spent over the life of the bond. So that's 23 years now, almost 24 years.
Madam Chair. Question.
Yes, Brandon.
So when you say the life of the bond, saying the life of the bond program,
Program,
multiple
multiple
bonds.
issuances, yes, or multiple bonds. within that.
Okay. And then another question, just kind of curious, Valley View being my home, base. One main question I have is just, does the district have any policy around portables, whether we purchase them or rent them? Is there a standard there?
Well, typically, we own most all portables in the district.
Okay. Okay. And so just looking at the Valley View School, there's no way to know from this when these expenditures were made. This is just through the last 23 years or so.
There's other ways that,
Sure.
in these reports, no, it's not
Yeah.
gonna tell you when those were. But if there was a particular desire to know when they were spent, we would know when those particular projects were done.
Although this is the consolidated report, there is a report that you'll see in a few minutes that does the more recent bond measures.
Mhm.
So that gives you an idea that it wasn't like 3 decades ago, it was,
Mhm.
within the last 5 years.
Any other questions right now?
All right, so if you move on to, so this particular report, you can see the green color on it if you're in color. And this is actually our 2016 master plan. You can see that in the upper left-hand corner. So this is just those projects that on the overall consolidated report that have the asterisk and the critical needs. These are projects that are current projects from 2016 on that fell into that area. So while there's a number of these that are all complete, as we're wrapping up our critical needs projects, the ones that are still going on, you'll see will be Steege. So Cameron is one right at the top, right? So you can see that it originally had a budget of $1.3 million. When we went out to bid, with the ADA improvements and everything we had to do with the project and the timing with construction, we increased the budget by $2.2 million. Total budget is $3.5 million for the Cameron project. As you read that across the top. And then you can keep going across and it'll tell you the expenditures to date on those projects. So there's a number of the projects that are actually done. Red would be where we've actually returned money back to the overall fund and taking it out of the individual particular projects.
Was for people who don't have color, the red is in the
Quotations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marks.
Parentheses.
Parentheses, yeah. Grammar.
And the asterisk denotes a current project versus the ones that don't have asterisks, those are closed projects. Or inactive. That'll give you an idea of what the more current expenditures are at a particular school site than the overall one that's much longer term.
And then this final one is actually for Measure R. So with Measure R issuance, we've had a bond sale for Measure R with $75 million. Of that, the first project that came out of the gate that's in Measure R is the Kennedy High Fields and Press Box project. It has a budget of $6.6 million. You can see what's been committed is 5.6 and remaining budget is $1 million in that particular project. That's not committed at this time.
As of November.
As of November. Then we have our cash projection. This would be through June 30. And just reads like a balance sheet. The nice thing about this is the notes. If you look at the notes on the right-hand side of the page, these notes are listed on the second page. They actually describe for you where those numbers are derived from. So it will tell you, one, adjusted cash balance. It'll tell you, let's go back up.
It's
No one's. There you go. So to tell you the cash on hand, cash with our fiscal agent, and then I'll tell you our retention. So you can see those are third party held retentions and district held retentions on our projects, which will give you our total adjusted cash balance of $210 million at this time. And again, for each one of those notes, it will tell you how those numbers were derived on the front sheet. Can we scroll down, stop here? So an example of state revenues, that we projected to have modernization apportionments come in for Helms and Betty Reed Sossin's modernization. So these are modernizations that were done. Some are as recent as 5 years ago, others were as long ago as probably 14 years. But we finally fell in line with the state for the apportionment on these projects. And that $9.4 million actually came in to the district in December. This particular report just lists all the critical need projects that were defined in the master plan. It'll tell you what the original budgets were and the current budget for those projects. And then you have Kennedy, same thing. And again, this is just the balance sheet, and we'll go through our cash and then our projected revenues. And state funds received. And then the overall spending by school site. This is a roll up again, very much a consolidated report with footnotes. And then we have our AP checklist, and this would be our monthly spend. So it'll be everybody that was paid out, contractors, consultants, district employees that are charged in the bond program, they all roll up here.
Louis,
Yes,
would you explain about account 21?
so Fund 21.
Yeah,
So Fund 21 is the bond fund. So that's where all bond dollars that are drawn down from the bonds are deposited and then spent out of that particular fund for modernization, new construction projects.
so like in the column that says short account, you'll see a 21 at the beginning, and that's the account number. So when you see a 21, that's the bond fund. And there's another one, 35, is it?
35 is actually where revenues are received, and then those revenues then are taken out of 35 and then brought into the bond.
Put into the bond.
Yes, so state dollars, that $9 million we talked about will come into Fund 35, and it'll be distributed out of Fund 35 back into Fund 21.
Does everyone see what we're talking about here? Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Moving to our AP checklist. And then this is the payroll summary that rolls up into the checklist. And those are the reports for November and December, just repeats again. So if you review this report before the next meeting, Melissa will be here. We can do a deeper dive into it, have more questions on how these accounts actually roll up and how these pages interact amongst each other. And we've had completes our reports for tonight.
Okay, the following one, if you look up the top of the page, on the top, What?
Which page?
on page, say page 79. You're 79 out of 109. On the top right, it tells you data as of 12/31/22. So this is December's data. And this is just a second packet. The first one that Louis was talking about was from November. This is December, same thing. Now, you people have seen these for the first time on Friday at the earliest. So don't expect to understand what's going on here, but you might look them over for next time. And then Melissa can go into it more. And the more time we're going to see them every month, so you'll get the hang of them. Don't worry about it. Thank you. The next thing on the agenda. Oh, is the annual report.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Did I miss audit reports, what the audit schedule is?
Oh, right.
So the audit reports will be coming out this week. So we do not have those, so as soon as we get the drafts will be sent to the chair, and the chair can distribute it to the committee. And then we'll have our auditors at our next CBOC meeting.
And I noticed on it's the status of the applicants for CBOC. I know we have an interview coming up next week.
It's actually, I believe it's this week.
This week. Are there any other,
There are no other applicants at this time, but our communications office continued to do outreach. They're gonna do another posting on the district website, as well as some other outreach that she's working on, so I'll bring that next time and let us exactly where we're doing the outreach.
good. Now, we've gotten to 7 that are the legal number, but we like to get 11. So you guys keep working, you're doing a good job, but please keep working on it.
And we almost also need the business organization membership number.
Yes, yes. What happens is, Sally DeWitt was our, business, representative. And she turned out after 6 years, just, this week. So it takes time to roll over. Now, once the district gets a process that they're going to use every time they see somebody's going to be leaving or whatever, we can replace it, but this is just attrition. So they'll be working on trying to fill that. If there's anybody here that belongs to a business organization, please let us know, professional business organization, just let us know. And we'd be glad to talk to you about taking that slot. Okay,
I do.
all right, good. Now, the remainder, one of the things that got caught is a casualty of the resolution to stop working is our annual report. It's by law, you have to have an annual report. And we last in 2021, we used to do the reports starting January 1st to December 31st. But the school district goes on a fiscal year, like our audits, they go from July 1st through June 30th. So we passed a resolution to align with that program. And one of the things, this is one of the things that we'll be doing is in the report that we will probably get mentioned in the audit that we didn't have an annual report for 2021. And we're going to be working on that one. We've got to pass that ASAP. So I've assigned people to work on the reports. On that one, I assigned Jason and I were on that committee. We also had Tom Panis on it. Well, Tom had to leave the committee for family reasons, and then we had to stop. So we want to get that out ASAP. So it's going to be Jason and I added Anton with it because Anton has done reports with me that, he knows all about those. So we'll work that one out. The one where we're getting the audit material on, that one, I assigned, John is going to be on that one. He's done annual reports. Brandon's going to be on that one. And I put Ja on that because at least you've had a CBOC where you've maybe seen an annual. I don't know. Do you do annual reports on your CBOC?
Yes, and this is my second term at the City's Oversight Committee at the City of El Cerrito, and I assist. This is my second term at the City's Oversight Committee at the City of El Cerrito, and I assist the financial audit report review with all the members.
Good. So at least you know one section of the annual report. That's good. So I put you on with them. And then Tamisha, I have you on for the following one as a note taker right now. Okay. So what happens is during the year, like tonight, we passed a resolution. Okay. So we'll say, hey, Tamisha, put that on the annual report for for you, and we'll just, help you along with getting a list up. Then when time for you to do the annual report, you can give this to your committee and say, this is the resources we can look at. Okay, great. All right, any questions on that? We'll get more, talk more about next time. It's 5:08, so we want to start ending, and I'm sorry, question?
Well, I wanted to talk about getting these two things, the training schedule. Sorry, that's a
Oh.
great
So
way to tell us.
on the recording, it comes across as a secret meeting behind the.
No, I understand.
We
You can't hear
we
it.
get that at the
Trust
board meeting too.
Yeah,
I wanted to talk about the training as we've got new board members that we have
Yes.
spoken about. We want to get that done sooner, not later.
yes,
So
good. Well,
I
you
didn't know if you wanted.
know when you're going to schedule that?
Well, we could either. We need half an hour to 45 minutes. An hour would be even better for each item, for the Brown Act training and then for the Robert's Rules of Order training. We understand your meetings are just chock full of information and stuff you have to go through. We could, and Lorenzo and I would just treat it as like an additional meeting. We can do the training on another day, and as I was sitting here, we're listening at that. What about April 3rd? Now, because this would not be an actual meeting, we would come here with whoever wanted to be in person, but we could do, anyone else could zoom in. We could run it over if you've got the capability to show us in the room, and we could do that pretty easily. Because it's a training, so it would not be covered under Brown Act. We would not have to,
Mhm. All right.
so.
Or if you want,
I'm sorry, Louis?
or consider maybe starting half an hour early and doing the first half an hour training.
That's what I was gonna suggest.
Yeah, yeah, so maybe do it in 2 months,
You,
John?
you're talking about doing it on the 10th, and
No.
maybe, but, Tammy has a problem with 10.
Right.
But you're talking about doing it in 2 months in the May meeting, and then running,
Yeah, like do
starting early,
one meeting, 1 hour, the next meeting,
a half
But-
hour one, half hour the other, okay.
yeah. Yeah, well, I'm sorry, Tim,
So a half hour is just honestly not going to be enough for training. We need 45 minutes to an hour on each
Yeah.
of these items, and I will be part of the meeting on the 10th. I'll just be on Zoom,
Hmm,
so
okay.
training
Now,
doesn't work that way.
are we
for-
going to do this with the Board of Ed? Is it a joint meeting or is it just for us? Okay.
It's
just for
specific
us.
for you.
Okay, okay. Anyone else have any problem with the 10th?
I will not be here on the 10th, and
Oh,
the
okay.
training,
Well, you pick a
would be in
couple dates
person,
that you
so-
want to do it on.
okay, and then we could do it at the next one.
Yeah.
Which is,
Maybe.
We could do the May meeting and the June meeting an hour early,
Yeah,
okay.
okay. Yeah, so we'll remind you again next month on that. Yeah. Anything else on the, and what I'm going to be assigning mentors to the new people. We'll meet, the mentors will meet and we'll work out, I'm gonna send you a questionnaire. You work full-time, what hours, so we can figure out the logistics of how to do the training. And we'll, try to set up a training schedule and materials for you. And then we'll let you know, but, I'll have the mentors contact you this month before the next meeting.
Okay, I'm also open to other days.
Other
well.
days than the meeting day.
Mhm.
How
If
about,
you're available, like
Right.
April 17th or something like that.
how about we'd have to consider the staff. Because you're working.
So maybe you
Louis?
poll your members and then figure out what you can do.
Okay, all right.
If we just keep them in the meetings, that would be
Yeah.
great too.
Okay, think about, it. We're not gonna do it next time. We'll talk about next time. How's that sound? All right,
Madam Chair, I'll just.
I'm
make a
sorry,
comment. I think there's benefit to the public, being present at the trainings,
okay,
so.
yes,
I didn't mean that we did not have to broadcast or do anything else. I didn't want to imply that we would be excluding the public. But for the Brown Act purposes, trainings are not, they're not a meeting. So that's what I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
but we don't have any problem with them broadcasting.
yeah, I think my understanding of our role as the CBOC is to make, this bond program accessible to the public, and that's one of the things I think we should do is if there are members of the public that are coming to the meetings, that they're also given an opportunity to get the training.
For the new people, the Brown Act is a law and it covers, public meetings and how you, because the whole idea is to make sure there's transparency, make sure the public, is aware of the meeting and make sure the public can speak at the meetings. So there's a law and Tammy's gonna train us about, like putting the agenda up 72 hours before the meeting as part of the Brown Act. Don?
One of the problems with hosting meetings outside of the normal schedule is the public isn't aware of them. You can put it on the CBOC page, but why would I go look at the CBOC page just to see every morning to see if the district is throwing up a special called meeting on there? I only found out about this meeting purely by chance. I knew that they canceled the other one, and even Jason showed up at the last meeting, not aware that it had been canceled. But I only found out about this because I heard something from you. But nothing from the district to let me know. And it's not like I miss any meetings.
Yeah.
But if you try to host a meeting on a special date that the public isn't aware of, and you put it up on the CBOC website, figure that nobody's gonna know about it. So I don't know what mechanism you can use to get the word out if you want to make it public. I've offered numerous times to help use the social media and the newspaper that I own to make public meetings. The district does not take advantage of those things. There are ways to make it, to get the word out better than what we have been. But it's one thing to say we need to invite the public. But unless you're getting someone stand out on a street corner and just shout out that you've got a meeting coming up, that's not the only way the public's gonna know about it.
Okay, thank you. Good point, Don. Yes, Jason.
For the record, I knew it was the 27th. I just got my weeks mixed up.
Okay, you were still here.
So take that into consideration when we pick our dates for next month. Any other questions? Okay, it's about 8:05 right now, so I'd like to, do I have to get a motion to close me? Someone like to
Because we're not done.
make a motion to end the meeting?
Motion to close.
You're a good one.
I move that we adjourn.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for meeting and
Wait,
welcome
wait,
to the
wait,
new.
We have to, if you have a motion, we have a second, we actually have to vote. You can't say
Oh, okay.
that there are no objections.
All right, let's do a voice vote.
Are you next?
real quick.
There is no voice vote with Brennan.
Roll call.
Or I'm sorry,
It's either
That's what I
no
meant.
objections
Yeah.
or
That's what I
raise
meant.
your hand or roll call.
Okay. Jason? Yes?
Oh, yes, adjourn.
Jean?
Hi.
Yes.
Yes.
Misha?
Yes.
Lorraine, yes. John? Brandon?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, adjourned. All right, thank you. You get this.
Oh,
Let's see.
I'm on the HOA board.